Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Bruce Swartz. I'm from Montreal, Quebec, and this is a podcast. We're going to be talking about MKUltra, secret mind control. I hope you're all interested in that subject, behavioral modifications, brainwashing, all these things that happened and all started many, many years ago. Some people came out on YouTube, have channels that talk about them having been programmed, having them been experimented on, etc. This is a very hush-hush story and subject here in Canada. If you want to know more about that, look up the Canadian Holocaust. I'm going to be talking about exactly what it is, what the programs consist of, what they do in the programs, and there's lots to cover. We'll probably be able to do more podcasts in the future. And of course, more information now is being declassified. Theblackvault.com, if you want to find any information there. There are millions of documents there. And because this is a podcast, you don't have to remain stuck in front of the computer. You can go about your work in the house, your chores. I thank you very much for listening in. Let's talk about MKUltra. Project MKUltra, also sometimes referred to as the CIA's mind control program. They had a code name given to an illegal program of experiments on human subjects designed and undertaken by the United States Central Intelligence Agency. Experiments on humans were intended to identify and develop procedures to be used in interrogations and torture, of course, which we won't get into any gory details, in order to weaken an individual, to force him or her in confession through mind control. So, organized through the Scientific Intelligence Division of the CIA, the project coordinated with the Special Operations Division of the U.S. Army's Chemical Corps. Keep that in mind. In the early 1950s also, so this is way back. It was officially sanctioned in 1953, was reduced in scope, of course, in 1964, further curtailed in 67, and apparently officially halted in 1973, even though there's lots of speculation, hearsay, as they say, without proof, but lots of people say that these programs still exist. The program engaged in many illegal activities. In particular, it used unwitting U.S. and Canadian citizens as its test subjects. This led to much controversy, of course, regarding its legitimacy. MKUltra also used numerous methodologies to manipulate people's mental states and other brain functions, including the surreptitious administration of drugs, especially LSD, and other chemicals. There's hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation. That's not including verbal and sexual abuse, as well as various forms of torture. The scope of Project MKUltra was broad, with research undertaken in 80 institutions, including 44 colleges, also universities, as well as hospitals, prisons, and pharmaceutical companies. The CIA operated through these institutions using front organizations. Although sometimes top officials of these institutions were aware of the CIA's involvement, as the U.S. Supreme Court later noted, MKUltra was concerned with the research and development of chemical, biological, radiological materials capable of employment in clandestine operations to control human behavior. So there's that great need for control, as they have always done, the rulers, right? The ones in charge of everything and everyone, ones in charge of the countries. That's how it is. And now they're using fear tactics today. We've seen this like forever. It's not anything new either. That's for sure. The program consisted of some 149 sub-projects, which the agency contracted out to various universities, research foundations, and similar institutions. At least 80 institutions and 185 private researchers participated. Because the agency funded MKUltra indirectly, many of the participating individuals were unaware that they were dealing with the agency. Project MKUltra was first brought to the public's attention in 1975 by the Church Committee of the U.S. Congress and a Gerald Ford Commission to investigate CIA activities within the United States. Investigative efforts were hampered by the fact that CIA Director Richard Helms at the time ordered all MKUltra files destroyed, supposedly in 1973. The Church Committee and Rockefeller Commission investigations relied on the sworn testimony of direct participants and on the relatively small number of documents, of course, that survived Helms' destruction order. So if you're smart enough as a person, you'll understand very quickly the dangers of taking control of the human brain, the mind. And maybe now you're understanding more about how we see quite clearly that the ones ruling this earth are trying to change the perception of reality, legitimate reality. Have you ever heard of sleeper cells? Those are people through hypnosis and through whatever means they need to use to be able to manipulate someone to react to a certain word down the road in the path of his or her life. Maybe gets to the age of 50 and all of a sudden hears a code word that activates whatever, the program consists of making this person do. So I'm being careful, of course, because I can't, we can't talk about, violence and death and stuff like that. I'm pretty much stuck not being able to talk about it. But that's the goal. Let's say a sleeper cell is programmed for in 20 years to take someone out, an assassination, for example. These things are real, and the studies are real. Now, studies being done on adults. Now, can you imagine studies being done on children? Okay. So, of course, here, close to home, we have the Doria Asylum, right? The institution. Several schools of both young children all the way up to probably 17, 18. And, these children from both the States and Canada some of them were kidnapped, some of them were taken away from their parents, and some it's the parents that left them there on the doorsteps, right? So it was sort of like an evil way for the government to get into our lives, and that's aside from everything they're doing right now. So I'm going to come right out and say it, that I believe the past few years, the terror attacks that we've seen some teenagers be doing could have to do with some type of programming or maybe some subliminal messaging that's both in televisions and radio. A lot of people don't believe that these subliminal messages in television and cartoons exist, but they really do. And the mind is a very, very strong tool, and used in the wrong way, well, it makes the difference whether someone's evil or good. But the manipulation that can be done to the mind, and what they've been studying for almost 100 years now, if not far longer than that. So the secret is that the governments, to rule over the people and to have control, total authoritarian control over the people, it will be done with and through the people. They don't have to lift a finger to attack us. They can change the perception of the people around us, the people that you love, the people that you know. What happens when the perception changes in the family with a certain event that happens with a family member? Well, people change, completely change the way they react and the way they deal with these people because of whatever the perception they have. So the perception of what is good and not evil, and what is truthful and not truthful, depends on that person's reality. They're going to turn the parents against the children against the parents, the black people against the white people. That's the goal. For them to manipulate us and to take total control of us, this is just my opinion, they can do it, and they have to do it by manipulating our minds, because we're not going to agree with their stupidity, obviously, or if they're asking something ridiculous or that endangers the human species. With everything going on and the talk about the depopping and everything that they want to do, I was going to say there's only a matter of time, and you can hear the clock now that's even ringing to send that message even deeper into your mind, because it's serious stuff. If they manipulate the people to fight amongst themselves and they control our minds, that is a manipulation of the soul that was given to us by a higher being, some people call God. You're being used as a pawn on a chess game. And you think you're free and you can move where you want because they told you that it was smart to move that way. But if ever you realized, through your own intuition or your own research that something is wrong or someone's asking you to do something that's not right, you're going to feel that you're wrong, because the trend is that everyone around you is going to tell you you're wrong. The same way they hide UFOs on the moon, by telling people, the ones that are talking about it, that they're nuts. But the government's not going to tell you you're nuts. He's going to change the perception of everyone around you so that your friends and family themselves will be the first to say that you are really nuts, because the perception was changed. So you might not think that changing someone's mind is going to change the world, but it really will. They don't want the world to be changed by, someone bringing out information to change people's ideas. Why? Why is that the government doesn't want me and you to change the ideals of everyone else? Well, because they've already implanted that evil seed inside of each and every one of us, their own perception. They tell us what is up when it's really down. They tell us go left when we should be going right or not moving. But the perception's all screwed up, and everyone is all screwed up. And some people base all of their decision making on what others do around them. And it's supposed to be used as a guide or a helpful tool, looking to see what people are doing around you. But you don't have to do what people are doing around you, right? If your goal here is to be a good being, be good and do it in a way that your intuition is telling you to do it. Probably going to be more right than what people are telling you themselves. We're a pawn on a chess piece. Sleeper cells do exist. In reality, they talk about the zombie apocalypse. Well, we are the zombies and we are the walking dead. The perception of what people think of a zombie apocalypse are expecting people to raise up from the dead and these skulls will be walking around. That's us, guys. The skulls are alive. But we're zombies, right? Because everything that we know today was given to us as information. So unless you read word for word and by the book, and everything or anything you're told by your government, that you're just going to automatically believe them, well, you're the one that's going to suffer in all that. Everyone around you is disagreeing with you. When you wake up to reality, you're going to start telling people and start talking to people about it. Going to pass off as a nut. Evil scientists in this world are back engineering UFOs, you're saying? Guys, they're back engineering the human brain. That's what they're trying to do. Once they completely know everything about us from A to Z, including synthetic DNA and everything that they can do to manipulate or change our bodies or immune systems. Are you getting what I'm getting at? The MKUltra that ended in 73 didn't end. It's just hiding. The name's different. Same institution, same rules, same goal. To conquer the human race. Brainwashing with a Psychological Viewpoint, February 1956. Let's take a look at this. So these are documents on the blackvault.com that are released, have been released to the MKUltra collection. There are many files there. But amongst the files, you look through these documents, they're photocopies, and it's all scratchy, and there's black lines scratching most of the stuff out. But you come across something interesting like this. Listen to this. We know now that men can be made to do exactly anything. It's all a question of finding the right means. If only we take enough trouble and go sufficiently slowly, we can make him kill his aged parents and eat them in a stew. Verdun, 1939. I don't know if that's the date when it's supposed to be in the 50s, but yeah. These are documents about people talking about how to manipulate the human mind and how to get a human being to do something, but without knowing that he's actually doing something or that he was actually programmed. So can you imagine a lot of the terror attacks that are around us these past few years? Could you not think that, in theory, some of these attacks could or maybe come from these programs that are mind-controlling programs, something extremely scary? I know there's a online digital company, MKUltra something, technology or something or other, that they are making games for teenagers. So, a lot of online games, war games and stuff like that. A lot of blood and gore now that they're putting inside of these games that sometimes kids as young as 7 and 8 are playing. Just to give you an idea, inside of this MKUltra collection, that again, theblackvault.com. Thank you, Mr. Greenwald. Please do check him out. I will link his website in the description of this podcast. So check out just one page, again, in the files that I'm looking through. There's thousands of files. Look at some of the titles and some of the things that we're doing back in the 50s. The reaction of the prisoner to the interrogations, public confessions, punishments, conclusions, an analysis of control during brainwashing, a hypothetical schedule of brainwashing, aftermath. Just to give you an idea, I'm skimming through these incredible documents that, brainwashing, it says here, as a term, was originated by a reporter who was interviewing Chinese refugees. It has been applied to a wide range of techniques, mass education of a communistic country, of citizens, throughout control in Soviet and satellite countries. This is scary stuff. Techniques of soliciting information, as well as the intensive, individualized re-education of beliefs of a few selected individuals. So these are test experimental people, their numbers, right? I should really limit the podcast to 15, 20 minutes, unless, extremely interesting. But even though this is, so that people will be interested. And if you watch the podcast and you watched only 10 minutes and you want to comment anyways, just comment on the 10 minutes you watched. You don't have to watch the whole video. Not everybody has 20 minutes to watch a video, but I know a lot of you sometimes have half an hour to spare in the morning, and while you're doing your work, you can listen in. And I thank you so much for doing so. Please leave me a feedback on what you thought about not just the subject, but on the ideal of having the podcast. Obviously, I'll be able to talk about the surface of the moon, my spiritual beliefs, and don't worry, I'll keep it interesting. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen in. Oh, one last thing. Your mind has a frequency, right? Well, they're playing with frequencies in the air, right? Make sure that that frequency they're playing with is not connecting with your frequency inside of your own brain.